Welcome to the Double Broker Bounty Hunters Stop the Scam. Here are your hosts, the Double Broker Bounty Hunter, John Cantera, and Dispatch Kate, Caitlin Price. Hello, folks. Welcome back to Stop the Scam. It is our 20th episode, so it's nice to hit this milestone. Thank you so much for joining us, and I'd like to welcome our special guest for this week. DC Campos, Mr. Hotshot USA himself, is joining us for the week. We're going to be chatting about some of the issues that goes on in the Hotshot world, as he knows it probably better than most. And Kate, you're going to hear Kate talking a lot today. I would think. Normally you hear my silvery voice, but I need to throw in some more Hotshot or Fireball to make myself a little more mellow today. In the meantime,
that's what I need. Fireballs are what got me in this shape.
I'm going to want to hear that story in a few minutes. But first off, let me just go ahead and throw out here, if you have any questions whatsoever during our show, or having to do with fraud in the industry, you can always hit myself, Jay Cantera, vigilanttransport.com, or you can catch Caitlin at kprice, rockdovefs.com, and of course, DC will be happy to take your questions as we are live today. Go ahead and put it in the comment section. And be sure to subscribe so that you are in the know when we have our next live shows. So with that, DC, I just have one question for you, sir. And who is DC Campos?
Well, first thing I want to say is, please excuse my looks. I did a little dive into a couple of bricks. It's a long story. We won't get into it. But I am the creator and CEO of Hotshot Trucking Shows USA. I'm also Hotshot USA Resource Network, which is a collection of social media, websites, publishing, marketing. But at heart, I'm a Hotshot driver, Hotshot owner-operator, longtime Hotshot. But I wrote a book on Hotshot trucking, have Hotshot USA. Hotshot USA, how to start a Hotshot business. I have a newsletter. I have a email newsletter that comes out when we're on schedule. I work with a bunch of the companies that we all use and need in this business, which I call my Hotshot connections. So I started this business years ago as a Hotshot operator, just like you and I, most of us are. And as you know, when you go to a lot of places, you pull up to a yard somewhere, and a forklift operator will ask you, "Hey, I've been hearing how good y'all do. I've been thinking about getting into this. How do I start?" And then my friends would call me. I'd get calls. I'd get everywhere I went. And I'd have getting emails. My buddies were saying, "Hey, I've been thinking about getting into this." Or people that were in the trucking business that were semi-operators would be saying, "Hey, is it worth it to get in this business?" So I ended up helping people a lot. And I'm kind of the helping type. It's in my nature, the way I was raised. I've always liked helping people, and so I spent a lot of time at it. So when I was out on the road, you know how we're always thinking, you think best when you're on the road. And I started thinking, how can I monetize, or how can I reach the most people? So I started thinking, maybe I'll write a book on it. And as I drove, a lot of times I'd pull over to rest areas, or at night at the truck stops. I'd carried my phone, little notes and tablets. And if you can see my office here, I'm all about notes. Whether I ever read them again is another thing, but I keep a lot of notes. But I had
You're old school.
literally 100 pages of notes. And so one summer, about 3 years ago, maybe four, I took 3 months off, and I thought the rates were bad then. I was complaining about the rates, and there was no comparison. I thought, I'm not making no money. And fuel was real high though. And I took 3 months off and stayed up every night till 4 or 5 in the morning and wrote this book, compiled all my notes. And then after I did that, I started a website, but I'd already started one group. And then through a number of years, I've inherited, I've started, I've created a group for every category, from car hauler to box truck to semi to CDL to non-CDL to business end of it to trailers. I'm really big on Hotshot trailers, CDL and non-CDL, and I have two of the biggest groups. I inherited more or less this Gavin reign of gooseneck trailers and flatbeds, and I grew it to 100,000 members, but we didn't allow, because since I had inherited, the members didn't really want to see people posting for sale stuff. I took polls, which I often do, and let the members decide, and they overwhelmingly told me that they didn't really want to see all that, because certain things will turn groups into spam fests, and what I call them, and things like dispatcher, and you've got all your what I call your scammer type, everything from grants to logos. But then if you start allowing people to sell stuff on groups, it'll take over the commentary, the discussion part of it. So I decided we needed just a separate group for that. So I created Hotshot Trailers and Flatbeds Buy Sell Group, and that group just specializes on buying and selling, and it grew amazingly fast, and it's knocking on 100,000 members right now. And since then, I've created two more groups that are more specialized or more like a marketplace. But I've tried to reach every type of every category in our in our industry, and some of these groups I started are not even for this time and period. They're basically seeds I planted, because I plan to keep expanding, and I have a lot of plans and a lot of vision and a lot of hopes over this for this industry. So going back to when I first got in and I started writing this book, I had owned a couple and ran and managed and founded a couple of other businesses that were when I saw a need for them, and I did okay with them, and what I thought was okay. But as an entrepreneur in every type of business, you'll see that sometimes you think, I got a great idea, and you go out to do it, and you find out 9 million other people have got the same idea, and it's very competitive. It ends up, or people either jump on your idea or copy it, or as my friend would say, you inspired me, as he cutthroat me in business, and that's just what happens. But I saw that this was a great industry, and there was a lot of good people in it, and there's people making real money. And I thought, there's nobody, and this is a problem still to today, and I see it in my groups all the time. It's not really, there's no clear cut path to how to get in this business, how to start this business, and there's so many variables from everything. If you want to, I tell people, say, I want to be in this business, and I want to get in hotshot trucking. And I tell them, well, there's so many different ways you can get into it. Do you want to be local? Do you want to be you stay in your state? Do you want to be regional? That's what I did for years. Or do you want to be over the road? And I said, are you going to be CDL? Do you want to be non-CDL? There's just so much ways you can be in it. Then there's the other factor in it is how do you want to get fed? Do you want to find your own loads? Do you want to have a dispatcher? Do you want to find your own clients? There's so many different ways that you have to find your source, where you're going to get fed. If you live in and I hate to say this to people out there, if you live in Colorado, you live in Arizona, you live in certain parts of the United States. Well, me and Kay tried to help somebody before. Where was that, Kay? That they really wanted, and they were getting mad at their dispatchers. They couldn't find loads. But if you live in El Paso, you live in Albuquerque, you might catch a load every now and then. But the loads are going to be, there's such a demand for them. You're not going to make any money. So there's always so much for people to consider with doing this. But as I was saying, there's no place for all this information. And so I started, my vision was to create a website, a network where people could come and find everything. I'm talking about everything from my book, how to start. And in that book, I took little situations that you never think you'd run into. What to do when you break down. That's probably one of the most valuable things you need to know, because it's going to happen. I don't care who you are. It happens to me. Oh man, don't even get me started. I took my drivers out, 2 drivers to train them for the last few weeks, and we had been stuck in mud, attacked by snakes, had turbos go out, had blowouts. I'm talking about 2 different sets of vehicles. One of my drivers is still in the shop. He had busted manifold. My trailer is up at the trailer shop. Lights went out. There's some kind of short problem, but you're going to be somehow stuck somewhere, and you're going to have to figure out how to handle it. And if you know what to do, it's all part of the business. But if you're stuck out on the border of New Mexico and Arizona in Indian or Native American reservation area, you want to know what to do, because there's not going to be anybody who can find you. You're going to have to be really creative. But that's why I have groups even just for that. I have a rescue group that I'm trying to grow, which I'd ask all of y'all to join. I think it's Hotshot USA Maintenance Rescue Group. It's one of those long titles that I can't even. I have so many. I literally have no idea how many groups I have, because every now and then I would think of, man, I need a group for this, because there's certain people who need this group. But that's things like that. How to deal with people. A lot of people don't know how to even hook up a trailer, how to secure a load, and how important it is to try to learn all this stuff. I told you I have a lot of goals. I have a lot of plans. We have a small school, but we're expanding it. I'm gonna eventually have full training, everything from how to sign up, how to find loads, there's just so much to it. How to find a good dispatcher. Dispatchers I'm very close to, because a lot of people hate them or love them. I can't see life without them, and I've tried it both ways, because it gives you more. A good dispatcher is your partner. A good dispatcher is somebody you can count on, somebody that knows a little bit about this business, somebody that when you're out there, when you're broke down out in deep, dark part of Texas, you're surrounded by coyotes and deer, and you're wondering, what in the hell am I going to do? You need a dispatcher you can call that can help you find somebody near you, find a towing service, find a part. But they also they vet loads. They know what you like. They know what you can haul. They know what a good load is, what a bad load is. I've seen so many people in this business, and believe me, I see thousands of posts, and I don't even. I used to try to comment on them. Now I've got to try to. I've tried to teach myself just stay out of it, stay out of it because. But you see people who take a load from, say, Florida. Okay, me and my buddy, I have a very good friend. Shout out to Mikey Marshall, to Jason Johnson, people that I consider my friends and my mentors. There's so many more than that, but we saw a guy picked up a load in Florida, and he was taking it to like Oregon, and he'd only charged like $3,000, but we figured out his fuel was going to be $2,500. But he was hauling basically a container-like load that was dragging air, just sucking air like a land, like a sail, and he didn't have enough smarts, or I guess not really smarts, experience would be the word, but he had nobody telling him, you're going to be going down I-70 right through the mountains, right through Denver, and you're going to, it was still icy out there. He was going to be hitting ice, and he didn't know about chains. He didn't know, but he saw $3,000. He thought he was going to be rich. He saw a payday, and he grabbed that load, and it was one of his first loads, but nobody's there to tell you that. But that's what I tried to do. I tried to help people, to teach them to do your research, do your due diligence. Don't just jump into something because it sounds good, because you could make $100,000 in this business, but you'll spend $200,000 doing it. And that's not a lie.
I have up on the screen. But I have up on the screen for our viewers and for anyone who's listening to the show on Spotify after we have it posted on there. I have the listing in Amazon for your book, Hotshot USA. The price for the Kindle is $39.99. It is a very comprehensive read, 17 chapters on how to get your business up and going. Highly recommend it for anybody who is trying to get into the hotshot industry. And I'll be perfectly honest, for a lot of guys who are trying to get into the trucking industry as a whole, this is probably a good resource. If nothing else, points you in the right direction to be thinking about the things that you need to think about. As somebody who deals with not just hotshots, but box trucks and other stuff as well, this is still an outstanding resource. So I do recommend to our viewers and listeners to check this out. So I wanted to throw that up on the screen. I'm sorry if I interrupted you, man.
No, I'm going to get out. Yeah, because one of my other headset died on me. Have you been hearing me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Now, did my whole speech, did it get out?
Yeah. Your whole speech went fine. Yes, everything went fine.
I just panicked because all of a sudden I couldn't hear you. And I still
you're fine.
I can't even hear off there.
What I did was I basically plugged your book.
Okay.
I pulled your book up on the screen and plugged it. So that was the perfect time for your headset to die.
Yeah, both died. Okay, now I'm hearing you on my phone. But I was worried that I wouldn't be able to talk. Now I can't shut up. That's
hey, you're comfortable. That's what we want you to be, and people learn from you. That's why you have the amazing number of followers that you have. I mean, I don't know how many times I go flipping through Facebook and just look at the different trucking groups that are out there. Just plugging this show or plugging my webinar or something like that. And By DC Campos is on the screen, and it's like, my God, how many groups does this guy have? And you don't even know how many groups you have.
I really don't. And I'm also on LinkedIn. I'm on all the I'm probably on groups that you probably never heard of, platforms you never heard of, Quora, Instagram, of course, and we actually have a YouTube channel, but I haven't really done much because it just too much going on all the time. But I also want to plug my biggest achievement, my biggest goal and achievement was Hotshot connections, and sure, it's a little bit of a marketing thing, and it's a little bit of my way of monetizing, but believe me, the little bit of money that I make, uh, I spend much more. I have really good people who work with me. I have a really good web designer. I have a really good logistics manager who's very, very talented, and I have a full-time employee, Draman, who helps me with run my groups. But I spend a lot of money on everything from web campaigns. Cost me over $100 and something a month. YouTube, Facebook and Google advertising. I could go on, but I'm pulling a little bit of money. But before I get off subject too much, so I built Hotshot Connections to have one of everything that we need. Everything from, I have a great insurance partner. I have a great factoring company, which I think TruckSmarter is one of the best, and they've designed themselves towards our audience, or Hotshot. I have Green Lane. Green Lane is one hell of a fuel card. We use it in all of our trucks, and all of my friends, all of my people that I know use Green Lane. It's a true discount, and I like it because it's good at Love's, and everybody, no matter where you go, you're going to find a Love's, and sometimes that's all you can find, but it brings the price of fuel down to the same price as what you could buy at any discount place. Uh, I have I'm Blue Ink Tech. I've switched they're a great American-made ELD and dash cam, same price as for dash cam, and as you'd pay motive for just a ELD. C&M Truck Beds have been one of my sponsors for years. Cranky Ship's a new platform. Mighty is the leader in equipment and cargo. I've tried to get everything. Oh, Midway Tanks. We just installed 2 tanks this weekend that we got from them. But Stryker, I've got a partnership now with Stryker, and they're amazing CDL and non-CDL, and I haven't really spent enough time introducing my audience to them because we got a lot of big things coming.
Your
maybe
website is unbelievably extensive with the partners that you have that are providing resources, and I've got that screen from your website up on the show now for those who are watching. For those who are listening, that is hotshot-usa.com. Please check that out. There is a lot of great resources all over this page. How long did it take for you to build up this network, DC?
It took me probably 2.5 years, but convincing each one of these companies that we needed them and they needed us, and it was a painstaking endeavor. I saw which companies, I recognized what kinds that things that we needed. I tried to make this basically the term, you hear it all the time, one-stop shop for everything you need for Hotshot. Basically, anybody that's new, that's just starting, can find insurance, can find factoring, can find ELD, fuel card. I have it all, and these are the best. And here's the amazing thing about it. I keep using that word, but it's true. I've made deals with most of these companies, these partners, so that our members get a discount. Usually you can use Hotshot USA, and there's some kind of special deal, some kind of special price. And I even have more waiting in the wings, but I just can't get around to it all. And I like to take care of people I have. But we're working on the Hotshot training, because that's probably the biggest need, because there's too many people out there. You see loads all the time. People,
I don't care what people say. You can argue. I see it all. You see it all the time. Somebody says, "How do I do this on social media?" And 500 people tell you 500 different ways, and
Oh
they get
yeah.
they get in arguments and get nasty. Well, yeah, I've seen you get into it with people before. Everybody, people don't like other people to tell them how to do stuff. But one thing I've learned and is that everybody does things in their own way, and what you might consider a good chain job or strap job, uh, somebody else may not. For instance, I'm a firm believer that containers need to have chains on the front and the back. My own personal experience starting out was going through uh, San Antonio, Austin back roads, what they call a hill country, in a
Yep.
terrible wind and rain, and almost like a tornado. And I had it just strapped down, pushed that container like a foot off, and it just terrified me because I just thought the thing was going to flip over, and there was no way for me. And there was nowhere on this. There was no shoulder. I basically had to stop in the middle of the road and use my winch bar and got chains and binder and moved it inch by inch. But after that, later on, I went to a hazmat training, and I went for a while, leased on to the professional flatbed company, and I thought that was what I wanted to do. And I went to their training, and they say you have to have chains on the front and back. It's the only way to really secure. But you see people going down the road with 2-inch straps, and I'm not even a fan of 2-inch straps unless you have to use them or for certain situations. But you need to have as much. But anyway, here I go. I'll get off on a tangent.
That's actually a really important lesson. You know, a lot of guys, even the non-CDL hotshot guys, like to run containers. It's an easy commodity to run, especially if you live anywhere near a port city. I got into the civilian side of what I do because I was former military. When I left the military, I was in Savannah, Georgia. And so I did a lot of work for 15 years around the port there. So I got really familiar with how things happened at the port as far as container management, chassis management, et cetera, et cetera. So I see a lot of hot shots running around with these containers. And I can tell you the number I see running with chains is single-digit percentage.
Exactly. Why risk?
That area around Bandera in Texas,
exactly.
The hill country. I lived there for 3 years when I was in the military. I was stationed at Lackland, and oh my God, I know exactly what you're talking. I can't imagine. I used to drive box trucks myself. Yeah. So that anytime you go through the hills, whether it's through the Smoky Mountains of Tennessee or you're going through the Appalachians along the Appalachian Trail, wherever you are, anywhere that you've got a channel flow of air, it's almost terrifying. I know I used to get terrified crossing the bridge. There's a river that goes around Maryland, northern Maryland, a little before you hit Delaware, if you're going northbound on 95. And that causeway, you know, you're talking 300 feet in the air, and the breeze there is absolutely crazy. And I was always terrified taking a box truck over that stuff. I can't imagine what it's like with a high cube container. I mean, yeah. I can't imagine how you guys do that.
I don't do it. I won't carry them anymore because I've had too many loads where I thought I was going to make money, and it was 6 miles to a gallon, 5 miles to a gallon. And I want to say this right now that my firm belief, and from my experience from running trucks, I have a lot of friends that I talk to almost daily and communicate with, and what I've seen here lately, it seemed like it's even these dually trucks are not made for running 24/7 on these roads, pulling high dimensional loads, heavy weight. The transmission and turbo alone, just the people I've known, I could probably retire on what they've spent on lately. My friend Mike, he just put in a new turbo. I mean, every day I hear, but transmissions alone, these trucks and trailers are not built up, and these trailers we use are not, they're not 18-wheeler trailers, they're not semi trailers, they're not axles. These are utility trailers. They're not built for constant use, really. I mean, not they're the same people makes the axles and all that. We're beating the hell out of them, and these roads have not gotten any better. They've gotten a lot worse. I got reminded of that, and I told you the 2 weeks I was training going through Louisiana, and it just beat the hell out of us. But these trailers, I tell people now, get you an air ride. It'll lessen it, but it'll take some of the strain off the trailer. But this business is very rough, and so a lot of the loads people take are, if you're going to drive them, you need to baby them more. And it took me a while to learn all that. And another thing I want to say, people, I get messages all day long. Right now, I'm looking at two that somebody sent me. People ask me, they think I'm an expert. I'm like anybody else. I have my way I do things, but I'm in the CDL realm that I've always been in the same lane. Basically, I do regional, but there's so much knowledge that needs to be. Every day when I'm out there, I think I learned something new. But I'm not an expert, but I know a lot of experts. And so a lot of times when people ask me stuff, I refer to my experts like you. You're my expert on fraud and double brokering. Yeah, I go to Kate about dispatching, and I have a lot of people but I don't think nobody has the right answers on everything, or has all the correct answers, because there's always different situations. But then again, like I've said, do your due diligence. And one of the biggest experts I rely on, Google, my Googler. A lot of times people will ask me something, and I'll go over to Google and ask it. But a lot of the regulations, a lot of the rules are on Google, or they're on YouTube. But YouTube can lie to you too. People, that's another people's own version. But if you ask people on Facebook, you're going to get 100 different answers, but you have to learn to glean the gold from the chaff, or whatever the saying is. But there's a lot of people being misled, and the one thing that I'm truly against. One of the things, I don't have a lot of rules on my groups. Of course, I have my, certain groups for certain things, but I can't physically be on all the different groups. But one things that I really disdain is people encouraging people to break the rules or break the law. How you run your business is your business. If you want to not stop at way stations, if you want to drive all night and you don't want to use the ELD, that's your business. And I've seen, from what I've seen more and more, it all comes back on you. And if you want to risk your business, everything has repercussions in this business. Everything from insurance to your CSA score to carrier 411, which you and I are very versed on. And yeah, people have no idea. And I have to do things sometimes that I don't want to, because I don't want to take a chance on getting blackballed on carrier 401. Brokers have the upper edge. I don't care if it's fair or unfair. I wish it was fair. And you and I have had this discussion so many times, but you have to basically follow the rules. And if you want, this is a business. This is a business, and you have to treat it like a business. It isn't a hobby. If you want to make money in this thing in the long run, you need to follow some practical rules. Plus, everything has repercussions. Brittany, forgot her last name. Brittany was my insurance for a while. She had gotten a new Hotshot person, carrier out of Houston, and had him for 2 weeks, and he was carrying a load of pipe, and you know how pipe shifts in the middle. like the top of the pipe came through back of his truck and killed him 2 weeks after she'd wrote him an insurance policy. Yeah, it's a terrible story, and there's plenty of them like that. But you're not only risking yourself, you're risking other people, you're risking your insurance going up, you're risking people around you. But you need this is a life and death business. Every day when you go out there, not only can you lose your business because of getting violations and insurance leaving you, and something falling off and hurting somebody, which remind me, there's my ABLR Austin dispatch. His name's Austin. He had this driver. He took a bunch of generators and took them through like New Jersey, and there were like 10 of them on it. One of them fell off. And hit a car. He got sued. He lost everything. They took everything. But not only did they sue him, they came to his house and took all his furniture and everything out of it. And the story is a lot more intense and deeper than that, but that's the gist of it. But they literally, and they tried to sue Austin, but I've heard so many crazy ass stories that I can't emphasize enough. You need to take this business seriously. You need to take your safety seriously, and you need to follow the regulations and rules. We all fudge a little bit. We all do what we have to do, but it can have repercussions. And it's bad enough that they get you for stuff that when you try to follow rules, they'll still get you for something you weren't expecting. That happened to us recently. But
so what do you think is the biggest lesson, the number one lesson that any potential hotshot owner needs to know? If there are of all the millions of lessons you can teach, what is the top one they need to know?
I guess I would say that's quite a few questions there. I mean, things that come to mind. I guess if you're going to lease on people, and I know that I've talked to Kate about this. You lease somebody on, they're a direct reflection of you, and they can put you out of business in a heartbeat. And that's happened to Toe Piglet. Toe Piglet had an empire going on. He had all these different YouTube channels and was very successful on that end. And then he started growing his business and had like 10 trucks. People leased on them, and he was very successful. But then one had a couple of mishaps. Another one got busted on for possession of weed, and it just ended up putting him out of business within weeks. And I guess the other thing would be to maintain your vehicle and your trailer. Sometimes spending a little more money doesn't sound good at the time. For instance, I'm going to use this for example. I have a big Tex trailer. Everybody talks bad about them, but I've done a lot of upgrades on mine. They come with electric disc brakes. Electric disc brakes are eventually going to give you problems unless you're mechanically inclined and you can work on them yourself, and you can change them. You can change the magnets, but the magnets assemblies have gotten over $500 on a 12K axle, and you need 4 of them. So I've another thing I didn't mention, but don't let me forget about my blogs. But I wrote a blog on this. I ended up paying a few thousand or making a big investment, switching over to hydraulic over disc. And here's the reason why. Every time you break down with your electric brakes, you're going to spend, it could be $2,000 or $3,000. But here's the real kicker. If you get pulled over and they do a roadside test and you do not pass that roadside test, they're going to put you out of service. Then you're prey to what I call the roadside pirates. They come and get you with their little eye patch and charge you $4,500 to fix your brakes. So shout out to my friend Maurice. He had, poor guy had me and him started in Hotshot together, and we used to stay in contact. We still do quite a bit, but he upgraded to a car hauler, and he put somebody in his Hotshot car hauler, and they were coming through Sherman, and they got pulled over, and they did the little roadside test, and his brakes didn't, so they put him out of service. He called some local guy, came out there, and that's where I get the figure 4,500. He spent $4,500 on it getting it fixed. They didn't fix it because you never really know what there's 100 different things that you can. 2 weeks later, he gets pulled over in Louisiana, and the same thing. They look on his record, and they see, well, you got pulled over for this, so we're going to give you another roadside inspection. It makes you a target once you failed one, and they did the same thing. He failed again, and I forgot how much he said he paid for it, but he had to get rid of that driver, and his insurance went from like 32,000 to 65,000 almost immediately, and put him out of business basically. And he ended up having to drive somebody else on somebody else's authority. But maintain your equipment, and sometimes spend the money that you need to up front, because when you scrimp, if you scrimp now, it's gonna cost you later. That's why I talk about air ride. Spend your money up front, get you a better trailer, because your trailer is your workplace, it's your shop, it's your showroom, it's your office. You're going to spend more time with that trailer than you do your home, and you want to have good equipment. And trailer can cost you a lot of money getting repaired, especially if you don't know what you're doing, and especially if you keep having to do the same things over and over. And like I keep saying, I can go on stories and stories of what's happened to us before, but we had trouble with our Gatormade trailer that we spent probably $10,000 on it over for the same thing basically over and over before they found the right thing, which they had put in wrong size bearings in it once, and there's some kind of similarity. And I'm not a mechanical person, but it had been something so slight, but it caused other parts to wear out, and everything is relative to the other parts. One thing goes bad, it causes other things to go bad.
You know, I get a lot of carriers that ask me how much money should they put aside for maintenance. Now, I've got a pretty good idea because I've been in the box truck world myself, so I know how much money I put aside for that, and I was fairly successful. How much money would you recommend a hotshot person put aside per mile in order to deal with their maintenance issues, to properly maintain their gear? What would you say for that, Chris?
I don't think there's any set answer, because it depends on their equipment and how good they maintain it, how much they know themselves, how old the equipment is. So many people start with used equipment that's already worn out, and they don't realize it. I say as much as possible. My whole thing has always been to try to save as much as possible, and that's the big difference between today and 3 years ago. I used to save money pretty handily and pretty easily, but now with these $2 and below rates, you're having to go further. You're having to spend more money on maintenance. And I know that the theory that $2 a mile is the same whether you drive 100 miles or 200 miles, or you drive across country, and you're thinking you're making the same amount of money, but you're putting a whole lot more wear on your equipment, wear and tear, and different terrains, different atmosphere, different weather affects it different. The first time you go through snow, anybody who's driven through snow knows that the damage that it does to a trailer is immediate. You could take a brand new trailer and drive through with the solvent that they put on the roads. It rusts your trailer. It wears it out. My friend Troy Taylor spent $60,000, $69,000 on a badass Damn, my brain. What's that big trailer? DC, the big trailer from Mount Pleasant, the expensive one. He had all the bells and whistles. He had all the air ride. It was a heavy duty trailer. But the first time he went through snow, it looked like crap after that. But
I mean,
maybe I'll talk.
I'm originally from the Northeast. I'm used to dealing with that. I've always spent the extra money on the undercoat protection, particularly, like I said, when I was box trucks. So we had a special forklift reinforcement package for our cargo boxes. So, we definitely wanted to make sure that was well protected, so there was no corrosion issues. I imagine the Hotshot trailers go through the same thing.
Oh, they're these aren't really, like I told you, like I was saying a while ago. These are utility trailers. They have a little bit of powder coating, and they're not built to withstand a lot of this. And I've spent a lot of time. I've redid my trailer so many times, restained it, re-sanded it, and then 2 weeks later, it looks exactly the same.
Yeah, I actually have. There's one hotshot guy that I support from my.
Oh, it's Diamond C. I had to look on my screen there. Diamond C trailers are they're like the Cadillac of the trailer business.
And that's funny. One of my favorite carrier. He's air ride. He can take like 20,000 pounds. It's a Diamond C trailer.
Yeah, Diamond C. They have you can get bigger axles. They can really beef them up. They're a well-made trailer, but you pay for them. I think they're a little overpriced myself. But this is your business, so you want to have good equipment. But okay, getting back to the question you were saying, how much to save. What I was saying about investing in your business, investing it on the front end. So many people try to buy an older truck to get in, an older trailer, and then they spend a lot of time on repairs. And the time you spend on repairs, not only are you going to lose the money that you're spending on repairs, but it converts over to how much time you're going to be down, how much time it's going to be in the shop, how hard you're going to have to find parts. I started with my philosophy, I started with a brand new truck back when you could buy a brand new Ram 3500 for $52,000 and a brand new 40-foot trailer for, I think I paid $16,000, and they've almost both doubled. But also my 2018 Dodge Ram, you can find them on my groups on for sale. People are selling them as high as $48,000, which is just a little bit less than I paid for them. But to me, if you buy new equipment, you have a couple years that you can get out there and make money and not have to worry about repairs. Because once repairs come, they seem like breakdowns, they just keep happening.
I think I've seen that way too many times. I know my current hotshot guy. Last week, he was having issues with a weld breaking on the frame for his axles, and he had a welder friend of his meet him 6 hours away from home. He not only reinforced all the welds on the frame for the axles, but then reinforced the welds all the way up the entire length of the trailer. And as you're talking more about the corrosion and other stuff, he runs a big Tex. As you talk more about that, I'm thinking, I remember during the winter, we had him up in Chicago. He was running some containers for a while out there. He didn't do a lot in the snow. We always kept him out of the snow. He's originally from North Carolina, but he drove through areas that did see snow. So, yeah, I'm putting two and two together here, and I'm just. Ugh.
Oh yeah, it doesn't have to even be in the snow. It's the solvent or the chemical they put on the roads
and other
stuff. Salt. Yeah, and they have some other chemical they put on there that it just eats through. It just causes instantly stuff to rust. Okay, even I remember the most amazing. Keep using that word. the most strange thing about the first time I went through like Nebraska in the snow. I went up there in shorts and tank top, leaving Texas. I was new, got up there and got snowed in, and I had all my chains in my toolbox in the back and my binders, and I didn't have a binder rack at that time, and I went to go get them after they were all rusted together, and even the brand new chains. Yeah, they were. I mean, not bad, but they were just. It was terrible. But even inside the toolbox, that they got affected by that.
Oh,
so
wow.
I'm not a big fan
of that.
Yeah, that stuff they put on there. It was a little bit. I was out in the middle of the Four Corners, and there was I couldn't see anybody. I put it in 4-wheel drive, and it was just solid ice, and drove back. I didn't have any problems, but it was kind of a scary thought. But it was my first time really experiencing snow. I try to stay away from it myself because your risk factor goes up so much higher. It's like I used to do more oversized loads back when they paid well. You know, if you're going to do an oversized load, to me, your risk goes up substantially. But doing oversized loads for just a little bit more money when your risk factor, and plus it takes you longer. I guess as you can see, I'm an older man now, so I'm not the young risk taker that I was, because I've learned a lot that as a business, you want to do what makes you money and what won't lose you money, and that's hard to determine as it is.
Wait a minute, I thought you were like 30. That does explain the grade. This industry does that to you, but
very strange for you to confuse me and DC. Very strange.
Yeah, I think that I'm 30 sometimes, and that's why I was jumping around my backyard and landed I did an Olympic dive into a bunch of rocks. I mean, my hands bunged up. I mean, I have a broken nose, and I have a what do they call it? A small hemorrhaging on my. I hit those rocks hard, but the advantage to this big head, and I was told the doctor at the ER, I said, this big head has saved me so many times. I took blows that most would have killed a smaller man. Because I fell off my trailer before in Lexington, Kentucky, and I had blood pouring all over me, and I immediately, as soon as I unloaded, drove all the way back, deadheaded all the way back to Texas, because I thought I was dying, and I didn't want to die away from Texas. That was early on, but you know how as a young man we jump off 3-foot trailers all the time. It's not a big deal. So I did that all the time. I'm not even a young man. I jumped off. Well, I also had 3 foot of scaffold on top of it. So I thought, this is just a little higher. So I jumped down, bounced back, hit the rubber rail, and just busted my skull wide open. But and then I even went to a emergency, and they looked at me and said, we don't do head wounds. And I tried to go to a couple other places, but it just looked bad. But I knew my big head had saved me again.
Whoa. Oh man. Yeah, I don't know how many times when I'm sending my Hotshot somewhere, the very first thing the brokers are asking me is, do they have PPE and all that other stuff? Is that because you've been there first? Is that why they're asking?
Exactly. So I told you I was out the last couple of weeks training my drivers. Yeah. I ran into something I hadn't ran into ever before, but I'd heard it was possible. They asked for PPE, but they required chin straps. And we just happened to have one hard hat that had a chin strap. And I never had heard of that. And they said, oh yeah, we do this all the time. The broker requested it, and the place we went to requested it. But that was the only hard hat I'd seen with the chin strap. I know they make them, but have you ever heard of that?
No.
Have you heard?
No. Yeah, I used to be a stevedore. So I used to work out on the docks, and I would be hanging upside down in cargo holds before, and I didn't have a chin strap. That's a new one for me.
Yeah, it's a new one.
I did in some cases. Oh. Oh yeah,
Yeah,
no,
there,
I've seen a lot of ugly things that have happened in this world. A lot of people in this industry have come in from, well, they've been in trucking their entire lives in one form or another. I've been all around logistics and supply chain. So I mean, I've done the maritime thing. I've done warehousing. I've done rail. I've done it all in one form or another. So I've seen a wider breadth of this industry than most people understand. And I think that's why I'm so good about the fraud as I am, because I can catch a
yeah,
lot of the bullshit that goes along the way. But the truckers, by far, go through the most horror stories that I've ever seen. And and your skull is probably a living example. Well,
exactly.
still living example of the things that are going on.
Exactly.
I imagine some science guy is going to be itching to get his hands on your skull when your number finally comes up, just for experiments. Holy cow!
Maybe I should get them to
Oh,
bid in advance.
there you
Hey,
go.
so you remind me of another thing. I didn't introduce myself. So Hotshot hasn't been my trade. I also started out before Hotshot. I did a little stint as a semi trucking. I got my CDL and tried driving a really nice Volvo, brand new Volvo, fully automatic 18-wheeler semi tractors with all the cameras and everything. It was like a giant Cadillac. I always tell people, but I never got comfortable in Dallas Fort Worth driving an 18-wheeler. It basically almost terrified me, or it made me very nervous. I drove tense all the time. But before that, since the 80s, I've been a courier. My wife worked for one of the largest courier companies. She had an office in a law firm for 35 years. They handled all the courier work for some of the biggest law firms in Texas. And I drove I drove 300, 400 miles a day through Dallas, Fort Worth, North Texas traffic. But then I had my own courier slash delivery business, and uh, started contracting out, getting contracts to companies and other courier companies, and doing deliveries in a van. Then I got a box truck, so I have a good knowledge of this industry, the logistics business. That's where I get my I guess my logistics business uh, background. And then I always had other businesses that I described. I'm a man of many hats, and sometimes I ran two or three businesses, and uh, I never have a I never have any uh, off time. I guess I'm a little bit of obsessive compulsive, or a little bit of a workaholic, but I'd
I
rather
think
do.
we all are in
Yeah,
this
yeah,
industry.
yeah, yeah.
I mean, you've gone from two or three businesses to two or three groups to 20 to 30 groups. I mean, what do you have? 200 groups now? I mean, yeah, you stay very, very busy.
Oh yeah, there's a lot of times I ask myself, what in the hell have I done? I said, I've bitten off more than can chew. I have things that I haven't even discussed. I'm gonna maybe a trailer dealership coming up here before long. Hotshot training school. Uh, it just okay. Let me explain something why this is really important to me. So the name of my business is Hotshot Trucking Shows USA. So when I was back to the time when I was driving around Texas and trying to think about my book, and looking for opportunities in this business, I thought there's nobody really doing this. Nobody's really marketing. Nobody's really uh, teaching these people uh, our our industry the right way to do things. But I come from so one of my business for 20 years, uh, I had a self-defense business called Stunning Sales Self-Defense Products, and I marketed the very first pepper sprays that were around. I had my own brand, stun guns, tasers, alarms, blowguns, knives, crossbows, all that kind of stuff you see at gun shows. I had big giant booth. I had up to 4 different groups that my wife would do a show. There's a whole circuit for that. There's anytime there's a show going on here, there's a show going on in Dallas. There's one in Austin. There's one in San Antonio. There's one in Oklahoma City. There's one in Tulsa. There's one in Amarillo. There's a whole market. There's a book that thick of shows that you can do. And I had different crews out there doing it. But I learned a lot about, and I met a lot of people who did gun shows, exhibitors, a lot of promoters. And I became friends with some of the biggest promoters in that business. And I even started to do it myself, but it's pretty well saturated. But I learned that trade shows are one of the biggest, reach the most people, and they operate like in circuits. The same show will be in the same place the first month of every month, or the third weekend of so and so. I also did I did the State Fair of Texas, State Fair of Oklahoma, State Fair of Missouri. There's 2 state fairs in State Fair of Dallas. There's 2 in Oklahoma, one in Tulsa, one in Oklahoma City, and it's a circuit. There's people who just do that, who just do shows, and they make a living doing that. So I'm trying to think. I'm driving by the Mesquite Convention Center, which I used to love doing gun shows there. And I was on these every weekend. I was at a different show, or where my crew was, and I was thinking about writing this book. And I said, "That's it. I'm doing a trade show on Hotshot. I'm going to do it just like a big trucking show. It's like the one I'm going to this weekend, which I hope some of y'all will be there in Houston. I'm going to do one exclusively for Hotshot. So that's where my name came from, Hotshot Trucking Shows USA, and that's where one of my first groups is called Hotshot Trucking Shows USA. That is still my goal and eventual where I'll end up. But so I needed sponsors. So I went and met with a company that I couldn't even remember a while ago. And damn, here I go again. I'm getting brain farts. Diamond C.
Okay.
I went to out and had an interview with Jason Crabtree. I think Jason Crabb. I think Jacob Crabb. He's the vice president of DC of Diamond Trailer, and we had a really good long couple-hour talk. And I told him about my plans and tried to bring him on as one of my first exhibitors to sponsor. And he told me that you have an excellent idea and you have the drive. He says, but you really don't have the base. You don't have enough exhibitors. He said, you need to come back in a couple of years, and I don't think you're ready to have a trade show. You don't realize the work. And I took his advice to heart, and that's why I started building up my base, building up my exhibitors, building up my partners, and eventually, and I could do it now. I'm going to do it now, but I decided not too long ago, I don't want to go all in on something like that, because that would take all my time and energy. It'd be too big of a risk. But the nature of Hotshot, people are always, we're roving wanderers. We're not ever in one place. But I'm going to put on what I call a regional meet, a roundup. I'm going to start probably in Houston. It's going to be a smaller scale. I already have a place. I'm going to discuss it with the people this week when I'm in Houston. I'm going to put on a smaller, where just people get together and I'll have my partner speaking there. You're welcome to come speak there. I'm going to have exhibitors. I'm going to have lecturers. Have some training, some specialized trainings. People who are wanting to get in the business, they can come and learn how to do chains. One of the most important, I think the most important things to learn how to strap is to do the belly wrap. I use that a lot on a lot of things to keep them from moving backwards. Some key topics, but I'm going to start out and probably do Houston and then Dallas and then maybe Oklahoma City. From there, maybe Atlanta. I don't know. I'm not exactly sure, but I want to. That's my eventual goal, and I do have enough sponsors, and I have really quality sponsors now that I can do it. But it's with all these different hats that I wear. You know, I also, anybody listening, I also own HotshotDepot.com, which I started a long time ago. I've designed all these different designs myself, uh, and I don't. You know, the reason I don't promote it is because you could go there and order T-shirts, caps, and it was all part of my plan to when I put on shows. I want to have a booth of just, but I have a place just for hotshot related apparel. But the reason I don't promote it is because I learned early on that if I put a picture of my artwork on, you have people overseas actors. I put them that way, scammers that will steal your artwork. And luckily, I have people like Lindsay Cookston who will notify me that somebody stole your artwork. They're trying to, and they'll steal it in a heartbeat and start selling T-shirts, knocking off.
Oh, I'm sure.
I have copyrights and the all that. Now I went ahead and what's the other word? Copyrighted and trademarked on some of this, but then it takes you having to spend time and get a lawyer or chase it down. You can get Google to take it down, but it's just a lot of work. And the more I do, the more I do, and the more I realize there's more work to do. But
you can have an entire department doing something like that. I mean,
yeah.
Especially as wide of an audience as you pull, it's pretty crazy. We are pretty much at the top of the hour, and I know your organization is so robust. We definitely want you to have you come back and talk about more different pieces of your organization as time goes. You already said you're going to be at the Houston Truck Show this weekend, right? So, folks, if you're going to be at the Houston Truck Show, go check out DC Campos. Do you have your own booth at the show?
No, I'm going to be with WM Insurance, and I'm probably be going over to Green Lane Fuel Cards, probably floating around between them. And I've got a lot of different companies that I'm friends with that I'm going to be checking out. Since I got all scraped up, I wasn't going to go, but if I can get on camera, I can do that.
Well, you can do a show.
I would like to talk more. What I originally crammed for all day was talk about scams, and I do before we head out here. Every one of y'all need to know that we're getting hit by scams on so many different levels. All these people. What I keep seeing, and I hadn't had time to really. There's people posting loads just to get your information. Dispatchers. Reason why I don't allow dispatcher posts and all these people that say, "I got loads over the USA. I'll pay you so much." They're just wanting your information, and they're using it. They're using it to get these loads that they're hacking other. It's all interwoven, and as John and I have discussed, there's large international criminal organizations that are making a living off. The whole world is making a living off of us unsuspecting, trusting Americans, because we will click on stuff when you see, I got money, free grants, free this and free that, and we'll click on that stuff and we'll see, and we're all greedy, and we see, and we're trying to get started, and poor little guy's put all his money in there and he ain't got a load, and he says, I got a load going to so-and-so and it's paid so-and-so. And I'll go over there and I answer and I give him my information. I give him my insurance information. I give him my credentials. Next thing, he stole my ID, stole my checking account. It just goes on and on and on. And so, do not trust anything that doesn't sound good. Do not give money up front. I know that there's hardworking people out there that don't want to go do a load without a deposit, but somebody, because the knife cuts both ways, you can get scammed each way. Just do your due diligence. Call the person. Check their safer. Check their phone number. Call them. See if it matches up. Just do due diligence. And like I said, I was afraid I wasn't gonna have enough to talk about. Now you're having to run me off. But we'll talk.
I'm not running you off. I'm not running you off. We do try to keep to an hour,
Yeah.
but definitely we want you to come back. We want you to come back
Yeah.
as often as you can. So by all means, let us know when you're available. I do want to go ahead and plug your book one more time, Hotshot USA. It is available on Amazon, $39.99. Check that out. That is an amazing resource, not just for people wanting to get into the hotshot business, but I think anyone who's interested in getting into trucking, there is some great lessons in here to be learned. So check that out. DC also has a ton of groups out there on Facebook. Be sure to check those out as well. In the meantime, his main website is hotshot-usa.com. Kate,
Yeah, buy the book.
I know you've been.
Excuse me. Buy the book on the website, because Amazon. I won't hardly see any of it.
Okay, fair enough.
I have a link.
Get it from the website. Cool.
Be sure to visit my website and read my blogs, because I write every one of those just about myself, and I put a lot of effort into it. And my gift of gab converts over to my blogs.
We'll definitely keep that in mind. Kate, you got any parting shots here?
I don't think so. I thought about some things like as we were going along, and then I forgot about them. They escaped me. So.
Oh, that's okay. We're going to get more chances at this, I'm sure.
I'm sorry, Kate, that I talked so much you didn't get a chance to say anything.
That's okay. I wasn't really.
Okay. It's better than me because sometimes I'll talk too much.
Yeah.
I'm always the quiet one. I'm always the one that's too quiet.
Oh, that's okay. We'll fix that at some point.
I'm probably really not.
I'm sure. Oh, it's all good. It's all good.
It's all good. Yeah.
Okay, so folks, if you are checking us out, remember we're always live every Monday, 5 p.m. Central, Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube. We upload to Spotify usually by Tuesdays or whenever Kate gets around to it. Of course, that's dependent on me actually downloading the audio and shooting it over to her, but that's neither here nor there. Also, make sure that you subscribe when you get the chance to our YouTube channel. Check out my website, vigilanttransport.com. We can help you with pretty much any kind of fraud issue you may come up with. Last and not least, stay safe out there. It is absolutely important that you get home, and whatever you do, don't let scammers take you for a ride. Dave, thank you again for joining us.
Peace out.
We'll bring you up next time. Take care, y'all.
Hi, guys.
Bye-bye.